Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here today. We're going to be taking a look at the Diamond Dallas Page DVD that just came out, I believe, last year. This one is called Positively Living. This video is basically being made because I forgot that I even had this DVD. It's been a long time since I picked up anything off the WWE shop, and this is one of the DVDs that came in one of those deals, and I never watched it, but just the other day I saw a tweet from my good buddy Zach Brown, WWE Punk fan from back in the day, and he was able to pick up the DDP Steelbook. I believe that was a Best Buy exclusive back in the day, and I said, hey, I have that DVD, and I don't think I've ever really gotten a chance to check it out. DDP, a Hall of Famer that went in, I believe, at WrestleMania... Shoot, did he go out and go in last year at 34? I thought that he was going to be a lock after, basically WrestleMania 30, when Scott Hall and Jake the Snake Roberts went in. And he's such a guy that is linked up with them so much that you really thought that he was going to be getting the call sooner than that. But DDP is the guy that really did deserve it. He's got a lot of respect for DDP Yoga after wrestling, so we'll have to see how that plays out, but I'm sure that they plugged the hell out of it on this DVD as well. So here's a look at the cover. Like I said, it's boom, bang, I guess is the best way to say it. But this is one that it's probably one of the first DVD releases that was released on Blu-ray that I think I didn't pick up on Blu-ray. But it is what it is. I'm probably gonna check this out one time, and it's gonna sit on the shelf with the rest of them there sitting there. But we got 3 discs of DDP. We got him and Hogan from Road Wild. That's, of course, the match that has Bischoff and Jay Leno. There we have just DDP pointing out at the crowd. Let's see what this last one is. DDP looks like Kevin Nash almost, to tell you the truth, but it's him and Booker T throwing down there. So here we are. We're going to take a look at this right here, disc 1. We're just going to run down what's on in the documentary. As you can see there at the end, they do talk about DDP Yoga. I'm sure that they got his Hall of Fame on here. Maybe not going into the Hall of Fame, but they always put that thing where they give him the call and tell him that he's going in. But we'll take a look at these matches. We've got the Diamond Exchange against Brian Lee and Chris Sullivan, DDP and Mike Graham against Jushin Thunder Liger, Bill Kazmaier, DDP and Cactus Jack versus Dustin Rhodes and Barry Windham, DDP, Vinny Vegas, Scotty Flamingo versus Buff, Brad Armstrong, and Johnny B. Bad. Of course, Vinny Vegas, that would be Kevin Nash, and Scotty Flamingo would be Raven. We've got DDP against Johnny B. Bad. That's really when the push really started going for DDP, is in 94. DDP against Eddie Guerrero, DDP versus Mark Starr. I don't know why that match should be on there. I don't even know who Mark Starr is. DDP against Randy Savage, Spring Stampede. That's when he first got the really big win that pushed him into being a main event guy. DDP against Hogan. DDP against Kurt Hennig. DDP against Jericho. DDP versus Raven. We go to disc 3. We got DDP and Karl Malone against Hollywood Hulk Hogan and Dennis Rodman. That, of course, was the biggest buy rate that WCW was able to ever acquire while running. We've got DDP and Jay Leno against Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff. We've got DDP and Goldberg. We've got DDP versus Bret Hart. DDP and Hollywood Hulk Hogan against Ric Flair and Sting. We got DDP versus Sting. Diamond Dallas Page versus Kevin Nash versus Goldberg versus Sting. This, of course, is when he won and lost the championship in the same day. Or maybe he won it in the same day. But for some reason I thought Sting, I can't remember, but I guess it wouldn't be on here if he didn't lose it and then win it back. DDP and Bam Bam against Raven and Saturn. DDP versus Christian. That, of course, is his WrestleMania match. I'm surprised they don't really... Well, I'm sure they show it up here in the documentary, his appearance at WrestleMania 6 in Toronto, driving the Honky Tonk Man down to the ring. This is going to be the back of it, Positively Living. We're taking a look at the AWA, Diamond Dallas Page, DDP, the WCW World Heavyweight Champion, the Master of a Diamond Cutter, WCW, WWE, DDP Yoga, and that's all going to be covered in Diamond Dallas Page Positively Living. Now we look here at the pictures. We've got DDP and Raven. We've got DDP and the Macho Man. And then we've got DDP and Christian at WrestleMania. Lots of names that are going to be covered on this. So I am looking forward to watching this. I don't know what day this video is going to be uploaded. But I'm watching this on a Sunday afternoon. As soon as I hit that button, I'm going to be going over, putting disc 1 in the DVD. And we're going to start this bad boy up. Hey, what is up everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here. Today we're going to be talking about the DDP, Diamond Dallas Page Positively Living DVD documentary. This was, I guess, released 2 years ago. This has been sitting on my shelf for well over a year. I decided that I was going to pop it open today on this Sunday afternoon and check this out. Honestly, because my buddy Zach tweeted out that he was able to pick up the Steelbook edition of the DVD or the Blu-ray. I can't remember which one it was. It was a Blu-ray exclusive. And I was like, I think I picked that up on a DVD sale from WWE Shop a few years ago and was never got a chance to pick it up. So here we are, we're reflecting, we're taking a look back at this one. I'm not going to come out and say that this is one of the top documentaries that WWE's ever done. I definitely wouldn't put it like in the top 10 list, but it is really, really good. And I'm glad that it's sitting on my shelf. I know that with the WWE Network, everything is a click away that you want to watch. I honestly have a hard time going and finding certain matches, even using the search feature when I'm watching the WWE Network on my Apple TV. So, if I'm ever in a mood to watch, a set of matches on one guy, the DVD collection is always going to be a good fallback to go back and check out when it comes to watching the greatest matches of all time. The one match that I will say that is missing off of the Positively Living set would be the DDP versus Goldberg. Of course, the Halloween Havoc match. This has been covered a ton, like when the death of WCW, and other WCW releases, because of the fact that the pay-per-view cut off because the show overran the time that it was supposed to on the pay-per-view, and most of the people in the United States didn't get a chance to watch the finish, and they would have to show it the next night on Monday Nitro. And of course, because they were giving away the Halloween Havoc, they lost a lot of money and having to refund people's monies that were upset that they didn't get to watch the whole WCW pay-per-view, mostly including the main events. So that's been widely covered on a lot of them, but in my mind, the things that I can think of, that was probably DDP's best match, and able to get a lot of an opponent like Goldberg, I believe back in 1998, when Goldberg wasn't really doing full-length, real main event matches. That was really big for DDP to get that out of him. So I will tell you that after watching the documentary, the one thing that I got out of this the most from DDP was in the opening minute of this documentary. DDP says, "You keep a positive attitude, anything is possible. Anything." That's something that I've added to my life in the last 2 years since I've been going through what I've been going through. One of the biggest things I have in my life is positivity. Most people can see the biggest change in me around my family or around the way I am at work, and that's really just sort of skyrocketed my career, and I'm doing really well. So for DDP to get that, I thought that was really, really good advice for anybody to stick to what they're doing. I don't know if DDP was one of the guys from watching a lot of his DDP videos on YouTube. I know that one of the really big things that really got me going, the ball rolling in the right direction, was the Ryback Art of Wrestling. Basically him talking about how much positivity means to him in his career. And I really think that out of anything, that's one thing that you guys should add to your life. Basically, DDP is a guy, we pick up in New Jersey. He goes back to his childhood home. Basically, his mom had 3 kids and was divorced by the time she was 19. And she raised him from the age he was 13 on, and then basically just showed him the way to have fun. He was a guy that ran around with his friends and played a lot of sports. But by the time he was 16, he had torn like every major muscle that there was in his knee, and basically that put him on the shelf. But he decided to find a way to start playing basketball and become a basketball star in his region. And that's what sort of got him through his teenage years. Once he got a little bit older, he basically got into the bar business, where he opened up a bar called Norma Jeans, which was ran out of Fort Myers in Florida. It was sort of like, the pink Cadillac kind of bar, what he would be known for. Driving to the ring at WrestleMania 6. Was parked out front. A lot of the wrestlers in that area like to come in there. They showed pictures of him with Greg the Hammer Valentine, some Terry Taylor. A lot of WCW stars passed through there. But the one that really caught his eye was the night that he met Jake the Snake Roberts in his bar. And basically talked up with him, which would basically become a friend for life, and sort of, it didn't really open the doorway to his wrestling career, but it would open a door later on down the road for him. During the time of him owning Norma Jeans, he basically did his own radio promotions where he would go in and do his radio commercials, being the man of like 1,000 voices. That was covered in a news interview where basically they wanted to talk to the man behind the voice, which then basically made him a friend, which got him a hookup to the AWA office, where basically he made a tape and he sent it to the AWA. The AWA liked what they saw and basically asked for him to bring him and his friends and start wrestling for them. But he basically said that he didn't know how to wrestle and his guys didn't know how to wrestle. He just knew that he wanted to manage and these guys wanted to wrestle, and he was hoping that his tape would, open the door for them to get in and him to get trained. Basically, they just asked for him to make the trip from the AWA, where he would go in and he would start managing people, opening up the Diamond Exchange with Paul Diamond and Pat Tanaka. Pat Tanaka, are they both the guys that would become the Orient Express? I know that Pat Tanaka was in there. I just can't remember the guy's name that was under the mask. Now that I'm thinking about it, Pat Diamond might have been that guy. Let me know in the comments down below. But he worked there for about a year before it was actually Paulie Dangerously who would make the call to bring him into the NWA. From there, he would make some connections before going on down. And working for FCW, where he was supposed to go in and manage against Dusty Rhodes. Dusty Rhodes wouldn't be there long before actually packing up his bags and going to work for Vince, which would sort of open the doors for him to come in at WrestleMania 6, driving the Rhythm and Blues, the Honky Tonk Man and Greg the Hammer Valentine down to the ring. From there, he would go on and start managing people in WCW, where he would bring in the Fabulous Freebirds, Jimmy Garvin and Michael P.S. Hayes, which ran for a little while. And a lot of people thought that DDP was too big to be managing guys. So he started managing a guy that was bigger than he was, and that would be the Diamond Stud, otherwise known as Scott Hall. And that was basically shut down after a while because people thought that DDP was a little too flashy and took away from the wrestling that was inside of the ring. So DDP decided to go to the power plant where he would start to learn how to wrestle, and within 3 weeks was starting to wrestle on TV. A lot of stuff isn't really known because they don't really talk about it. They just make it seem like he just became a major star out of the middle of nowhere. But around 1996 is when things really got cooking for him. He had a couple of matches with Eddie Guerrero battling over the battle ring. Didn't talk about it, but I just remember it. Dang it. They won some sort of ring. It was a Dusty Rhodes gimmick. And DDP and Eddie Guerrero had a lot of matches on it. And then DDP sort of became a guy that, dumped all of his gimmicks and became just a guy. That's when the NWO came calling, and DDP actually turned down the NWO. It was one of the first big names to be offered a spot in the group that went against it. Of course, he would do it by hitting a diamond cutter on Scott Hall and throwing Kevin Nash out of the ring, through a horrible, horrible table spot, one of the worst table spots of all time. And then go on and battle those guys, which was sort of highlighted by the matches that would go up against Randy Savage, where Savage actually asked to work with DDP. Savage actually requested that DDP go over him in that Spring Stampede match, which sort of really, really launched his career as being one of the main event guys in WWE. I'm sorry, in WCW. From there, we go to him winning the United States Championship. We see him tagging with Karl Malone. We see him tagging with Jay Leno. And those are all, the Karl Malone match is something that's really highlighted on here. Talking about how Karl Malone and him struck up a friendship. He brought him to the power plant and got him through the match, and it being one of the biggest matches in WCW history. Before it was all said and done, DDP won the World Heavyweight Championship in WCW in a fatal 4-way at Spring Stampede, a match that included Ric Flair, Hulk Hogan, and Sting. That would be his first championship win, and I think he would go on and win the title 4 times before WCW closed the door. One of the things that they talked about was him going into WWE in 2001, where he came in with the stalker gimmick of The Undertaker. I can honestly tell you that the stalker gimmick was good. The stalker gimmick as a payoff of it being DDP was bad. But I remember them announcing that the stalker was going to show himself in the ring that night on Monday Night Raw. And as they went to commercial before it happened, I remember trembling. Like, I had no clue what was going to happen. And then even when it was presented that it was DDP, I popped. I thought it was huge. I did think that the matches and the payoff of like Sarah Undertaker beating DDP on Monday Night Raw was bad, but it got DDP into WWE, a goal that he always had. It got him a WrestleMania match at WrestleMania 18, wrestling against Christian, where they would then say that he closed the doors on his career. I believe it would be a back injury, and that would be one of the reasons that he started getting into yoga. Then he would create DDP Yoga, which then of course would launch him into selling DVDs, being a really, positive, influential speaker, that would get him into helping the likes of Scott Hall and Razor Ramon kick the demons that are in their life. And just helping out loads of wrestlers, continue their wrestling career. Like Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho are 2 guys that really passed around the DDP Yoga DVDs. You see guys like AJ Styles working out the workout today. You see legends like Mick Foley trying to extend their life and their career by doing the workout. DDP is one of the true gems in the world of wrestling. He might not be on anybody's top 10 wrestlers list. He might not have some of the best matches that we've ever seen, but as far as being a wrestling character that we all knew and we all loved, DDP was one of the best. He deserved a DVD set. He might even deserved a better DVD set than this one. But this documentary honestly is really good. I'm not going to say that it's going to be going in my top 5, top 10, maybe even top 20. But this is one that you definitely need to add to your collection. It looks like they're not adding up these, I guess they would call them Beyond the Ring on the network anymore. So one of the only ways you're going to see this is buying this DVD. I'm sure it's not going to be that much if you buy this copy used on Amazon. I highly recommend it, and I'll talk to you guys down the road.